What's up, A-Pushers? Today we're going to go over your favorite Ulysses S. Grant, and that is Ulysses S. Grant, the general from the Civil War, not Useless S. Grant. So don't forget and make a silly little blunder on the exam. So let's get things started. We got, first up, the election of 1868. 100 years before the United States is going to be involved in the Vietnam War, and we have the Tet Offensive there, and the Mexico City Olympics with the Black Power symbol. 100 years before Dr. King is assassinated, we have an election. And the campaign slogan for Grant is, "Let's have peace," because if you look at the United States, since the 1850s, it's been conflict and civil war. And the last president, as you should know, was Johnson, a Democrat who was totally racist. All right, so it's let's have peace, e pluribus unum, let's come together. So major thing, e pluribus unum, come together. Next up would be the Transcontinental Railroad. This is huge because it links the American continent in North America for the first time ever by technology. It's big. I think it's bigger than us going to the moon, personally. All right? Couple things you need to know. Central Pacific, everything you need to know about this starts with C. Central Pacific goes from California to Utah, and the Chinese workers worked on that one. On the other side, you've got Union Pacific, which starts in Omaha, Nebraska, has Irish workers, and of course it links up at Promontory Point in Utah. Next up, we got crushing the KKK. This is huge because for once, blacks are like, yes, this nation is defending me. But unfortunately, it's going to be short-lived because when you get to the Compromise of 1877, the troops are going to leave. But for the time being, the KKK is going to be crushed. This general from the Civil War is going to crush the KKK. There is also a Civil Rights Act that happens called the Civil Rights Act of 1875, which says that blacks are entitled to property, they are entitled to be on juries, no segregation of any sort is going to be allowed. And it's good being black in America for really maybe the first time ever, and blacks actually are going to be in the legislature. But you're going to see it go way down once you get to 1877. Panic of 1873, all right? Panics, we've had ups and downs before. Panic of 1819, Panic of 1837. This one, Panic of 1873, is really bad. As you can see, really bad. Unemployment reaches at 1.14%, which means the economy is horribly, horribly wrong, and you have a lot of people that are out of a job. Is that American dream a reality? That's a big question. Started by a lot of companies trying to build another transcontinental railroad, but they go bankrupt because they thought it would cost this much money. It costs a lot more, and they just couldn't finance it. So they went out of business. And when you go out of business, people are unemployed. Next up is the Great Barbecue. This is named for all the scandals that Grant gets himself in. He's not a bad president. He's not actually that corrupt. But the people that he appointed under the spoils system, they are. The most famous of which is Credit Mobilier, where people in Congress actually said, we are a company, we are going to work for Union Pacific, we are going to be called Credit Mobilier, and they asked Congress for a bunch of money, knowing that the money they were asking Congress for was a lot more than what it would actually take to finish the Transcontinental Railroad. Long story short, people in Congress were being bribed, people couldn't keep their mouths shut, and eventually it leaks to the American public, and Grant is going to get grilled. That's why it's called the Great Barbecue. Scandal, scandal, scandal. It's going to also connect later on to the 1920s with scandal, and then Watergate in the 70s, and Bill Clinton going, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, in the 1990s. So political scandals, a major theme. And last but not least, the Battle of Little Bighorn. That's what the Lakota Sioux call this. The Americans tended to call it Custer's Last Stand. Custer's from the 7th Cavalry. Their goal is to move Native Americans to reservations. Custer is not going to wait for the three generals to join with him, and he is going to be surrounded by the Lakota Sioux, and he is going to be defeated. Major triumphs are going to be short-lived because Sitting Bull and all the other Native Americans are eventually going to be forced on to reservations. So Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull moved on to reservations, and eventually they will die there. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Ulysses S. Grant, what you need to know about our 18th President of the United States.